You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, episode 9.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
Welcome to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. I am your host, Jack Twiner. If this is your first time listening, then hey, welcome. If you're a regular listener, then welcome back. This podcast is for function musicians who are looking to grow their business, maybe make a bit more money doing it, hear some inspiring stories, and generally just learn from others who've been doing it successfully for years. I have an awesome guest lined up for you today, and we go into a few topics that I imagine will be super relatable to a lot of people listening. We go into being a busy musician and having kids and how that affects things, as well as mental health and some of the issues there, as well as not comparing yourself to other people because you are an individual and there's no one else out there like you. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Rebecca Royal. You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. On today's episode, we have Rebecca Royal. Rebecca is a mother, international vocalist, and Celine Dion impersonator originating from North Wales. Rebecca has performed in a variety of prestigious and established resorts across Europe and the world, as well as singing on board cruise ships across the Mediterranean Baltic Sea. A former trained actress, Rebecca began her career aged 21, singing in Cyprus, and since then hasn't looked back. Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. How are you?
We got there. Yeah, good, thank you. So I know from our chat before that you're going to have a new perspective that we haven't had on the podcast yet, and one that I think a lot of people are going to relate to, and that is that you've recently become a parent. So we're going to dive into that and how that's affected your career as a performer and some of the struggles and rewards as well. But first of all, I'd love to go back and learn a bit more about your career, where you got started. From the intro, it sounds like that was about when you were 21.
Yeah, 21. Yeah, after I studied acting. Obviously, originally I wanted to be an actress, but there's more work with singing. And I just found myself going down that path instead. So like I said, I haven't really looked back. You know, it's definitely been a good decision to go down the music route, I think, for myself.
Did you actually get any jobs in the acting world, or were you just sort of training and then just found singing came more naturally? I'm
not going to lie to you. I literally finished my degree, and then this job popped up as literally Lady Gaga impersonator. I was like, I can do that. That's acting, singing, dancing, all in one. So I literally went for that. And since then, I wanted to be an actress, like I said, but I think with singing, Jack, to be honest, you've either got it or you haven't. Whereas I feel like acting, I think not anyone, not to degrade acting, but I feel like it's so, how can I say?
You can learn techniques and tactics and stuff like that.
You know what I mean?
For example, singing, I cannot sing. There's no way I'll ever be able to sing. Can't teach me it. It's never going to happen. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Well, you got to be careful what you say these days, haven't you? Yeah. I'm so out with it. But no, acting is a fact. I trained hard doing that, Jack, but I just found myself enjoying performing a bit more, you know, spending more time learning about musicians rather than actors. And I think that's a big indication that was the correct route for myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is so I don't want to go on and on and on, but I did struggle a lot in the early years with my mental health. And it wasn't a thing then. It wasn't really, there was no help for people, I felt like, when I was younger. And I suffered a lot with anxiety, panic attacks, not feeling good enough as well, not feeling attractive, not feeling like I should look how a performer should look. There is no look how a performer should look, but it's all those things that when you're studying and you're with other performers and you're comparing yourself to other people, you can just fall into this deep, dark hole of I'm not good enough to do this, even though you want to.
Yeah.
And I managed to get out that hole. I managed to have therapy and, you know, learn that in the end, no, I'm good enough. I can do this. you know. Where my background, I'm from like a council estate. It's not really, it wasn't inspiring as a kid growing up, because you're told to not, you'll never make it. You'll never be able to do that, you know. And I think I had to just push myself out of that and be like, no, I want to do this to show others like that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, you know.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of, I mean, maybe adults when we were younger think pursuing a career like this, making it, is being famous and being like a pop star, not you. But there's so many other jobs and so many other things that you can do as a career that are totally doable. Literally.
I think that's another thing, isn't it? Like, there are some people that are like, oh, you should go for the X Factor, as if like that's the ultimate like success. You know, I've also been told before, like, oh, you know, you really make it if you're on the West End. That's like when you know you've made it. And I'm like, I've never strived to be on the West End. So for me personally, that's not making it. Like, that's not success for me, because I don't want that. You know, it's like, but people have got this misconception really of our industry, I think.
Yeah, I mean, success is different for everyone, isn't it? But like, absolutely. I think just having a job and managing to be full time is a success. Making money from it is a success. So
for sure, absolutely.
So you had your first job. Was that in Cyprus? Did you say, or?
Yeah, it was in Cyprus. Yeah, I just got on the flight. I was like, right, let's go.
Oh, okay. You weren't there already. You were just
No, I got the job, applied for it, did some audition tapes and stuff, and then it was like, right, let's book the flight. I remember crying on the flight, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Where am I going? I've never been, I don't think I'd been abroad at that point, and I was like, what am I doing? But it felt right.
Yeah, how long was the job for?
It was only a seasonal contract, so I think it was like 6 months or something. And it definitely had its challenges, because I was completely blindsided. Is that the word? I had no idea what the industry was, had I? I'd just come from uni. I was like, no idea, you know, working with other entertainers and the challenges that come from that also. It was like completely new experience, and you just learn as you go, don't you, really?
Yeah, absolutely. So did you enjoy that job, first of all, and then did it lead to anything else after?
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I'm not going to lie to you, Jack. I did enjoy it, but I think I was, how can I say, I was very uncomfortable, because I was going to like these bars and venues on my own, not really knowing much about performing on my own, singing on my own. It helped me learn. It was a really good, like, throw me right in the deep end completely. And I look back now and I do cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know how to speak to the audience properly. I didn't know how to communicate with them, use the microphone, you know, all these different techniques that you learn. I had no idea. So I'm a bit like, oh, why did I do that? But then it helped me learn quickly, I suppose.
Yeah, working on the job, is the best way to learn, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, from there then, did that lead to anything else, or did you come home and? No,
I literally came home. I came home for a year then. I think it just came home for a year, just doing little. I went round the Haven circuit in a band, but that wasn't in connection to that contract. That was just something different then. I'd auditioned for, but yeah, I was just home for a bit then. I was like, I need a break after that. That was crazy. But yeah, no. And then we just continued, and auditions and little jobs and contracts here, there and everywhere, basically.
So what was the next big job after that then?
The next big job after that was probably Silversea Cruises.
Okay. How did that come about?
I think I saw the audition on a casting site. And I was still in that, I was telling you that I didn't feel good enough and stuff. I was still in that mindset of like, am I good enough for this industry? And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for this one. I'm just going to try it. What's the worst that can happen, you know? And again, it's just pushing yourself, even if you don't feel good enough. It's like, keep going, perseverance.
Yeah.
And I got the job, and I was like, that was validation for me that actually I must be okay. I must be a decent singer. You know, it was like, it was, I didn't think I was going to get it. I was a bit like, and those little wins throughout the career, that's the validation you need, isn't it? That actually you can do this. They're little wins, but they're big at the time, you know?
Yeah. So to go back to the mental health thing a little bit, if you're comfortable talking about it,
absolutely.
So that was fairly at the beginning of your career, sort of that 21, early 20s age.
Yeah.
And then you said you went to therapy for it, and that was the main reason it helped, or just like loads of little things, as you said, all these little wins and things like that?
I think the therapy was the major. Yeah, there was a point in my relationship with my partner, who I'm still with now, my husband, and I think it was getting to him a lot with these panic attacks that were coming on, and I think I said to myself, if I don't seek therapy, this might affect my relationship. Well, it is affecting it, and it might, you know. So the therapy was EMDR, and it's I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like,
I've not. It's
like hypnosis, but you're awake. And I think it just delves into like the past experiences that are like stored in your subconscious, and it just brings them to the surface, and you relive that moment. But then the therapist guides you on how to like kind of just accept that happened and not let it affect your future and your present. So yeah, so that was really helpful. It was quite spenny. It wasn't cheap. You know, I used the money I made from singing for those therapy sessions, but it was worth every single penny.
Yeah, I bet.
I think with age, Jack, as well, I think the more you age, you learn to love yourself. I think maturing is a really good thing.
Yeah.
Although people are scared of maturing, I think you just learn, you know who you are. You don't know who you are when you're 21. You really don't. You think you do until you get to 30. And then you're like, that completely different person within a decade, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine we're similar ages. I'm 30, going to be 35 next week, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, absolutely knew nothing in the early 20s. Late 20s, maybe a little bit, but then, hit 30, and that's when you turn into an adult, I think. Yeah, although I'm still not sure I'm quite there yet. But
yeah, I have those moments, don't get me wrong. But yeah, so I just want anyone listening, obviously, to know that if you're young and you're struggling a little bit, like with age and obviously looking after yourself, and I think therapy is really good if you want to try and get over those hurdles and be the best performer and the best version of yourself, you know.
I think, as you said earlier as well, it wasn't so talked about a few years ago, and it is now. So I guess I imagine it's a lot more accessible to find help that you need to get over those things and through those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's like a really good perspective as well. That one that I wasn't expecting, actually. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that. Okay. So how far into your journey did that take you? So when you sort of were finishing with the therapy, I guess, and then I'm
trying to think.
Were you still working during that time as well?
It was like that in between contract break. You know what I mean? It was like that in between. I think it was like winter time. So I went for around, I think it was four sessions. This was when I was 26, so it was a bit later on. So it had taken me a few years to actually get to that point. And yeah, but better late than never, as they always say.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know.
So let's move on to a bit to where you are sort of now in your career. Obviously, the Celine Dion impersonator sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I need to check that out. What kind of things are you up to at the minute apart from that?
Yeah, so at the minute I'm obviously being a parent, which is definitely challenging. But I'm also working on my brand new tribute show, Je suis Celine, which is I am Celine in French. In case you don't know, a lot of people don't know, so I have to like explain it. But so I'm currently working on that. I've had a few agencies in contact with me, wanting to work alongside me, which is really exciting. And I want to create a foundation now, Jack. I think as a wife now and as a mother, contracts, they're great, but they're not sustainable, because you find yourself out of work in October and then you're like, oh my gosh. So I want to create something a bit more stable now. So I think this tribute will be, I've got high hopes for it. I've put a lot of energy in it. I've been watching a lot of interviews of Celine and trying to mimic how she talks. how she sings, her mannerisms, and looking at her costumes and trying to replicate those as well. So to represent her the best I can. It's Celine. I've got to do a good job. It's like, I don't know why I've taken on one of the most iconic singers of all time. That's definitely a lot of stress. I've just added extra stress to my life.
Does it come from being a fan first of all?
Yeah, of course. Celine, isn't it? It's like, she's just phenomenal. She's absolutely sensational. Obviously in the 90s, me and my mate used to listen to the CD and vibe while what were we doing? Playing Sims, as you do at the age of 8 or 9. So yeah. I think also I've got kind of similar look as well. I think that's also quite a good thing to have if you're doing a tribute. I've got the long face, which I used to get bullied for in school when I was younger for having a long face, but now it's come in handy, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I feel like I already know the answer to this question, but doing like impersonating and stuff, like you said, you did the Lady Gaga one. Has there been any others over the years? I guess that takes in your acting background and singing background and joins the two together perfectly, really.
Exactly. Yeah. So my acting degree did come in handy in the end.
Yeah.
All that money came in handy. Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely think being able to do accents and stuff is definitely useful. And throughout the years as well, Jack, in between contracts, I've done princess parties also. Mm-hmm. So again, you're taking in that acting and the singing and all those skills in one. So, but Celine's accent, Jack, it took me a long time to master because it's a really odd combination of French and Canadian, which is, it was quite tricky.
It must cost a fortune as well with the outfits and wigs, I imagine, as well.
Listen, it doesn't cost a fortune because I go on Vinted. I don't want to cut from Vinted for them. Am I allowed to mention names of things?
I assume so. I don't know.
Just leave it out if not. But no, I shop for secondhand garments because I'm quite big on the environment as well. So I always try, if I can do something to help the environment and at a lower cost, I will definitely do that. So I got secondhand garments, reworked them. So I worked with a costume designer who's a lovely lady, really lovely. So we just rework garments so that it doesn't cost the earth as well, and find little unique things, little pieces on all these secondhand apps. So it doesn't cost the world really. It's just smart. It's just smart shopping.
Do you do your own stuff as well? Obviously, I mean covers, but like any sort of non-impersonator things, just like you as Rebecca Royal.
Rebecca Royal, yeah, I do. I have wrote songs in the past, but I'd love to work with a musician to try and create unique stuff. That's one of my goals. As well as impersonating Celine, I'd love to work on original material. But yeah, I do. I cover Motown and soul and disco and pop. So I also offer my Rebecca Royal show. I call it a show because I put on a show with my dresses and my sparkly garments, and I've got a persona as well on stage. It's kind of like banter. I dress opulently and quite classy, but I'm still quite, common. So it's like a combination of classy and common, which I think people kind of relate to. And, I like to have a laugh with my audience as well and, have a bit of banter with them. And I think they like it. I think they enjoy that.
How do you completely separate those in a marketing sense, like with different Instagram accounts and different email addresses and all that kind of thing? And do you work with different agents for both of them as well? Yeah,
that's it. So I've got one. To be honest, I've never worked with agents, Jack, until this year. I've always managed to kind of just get my own gigs through word of mouth or contacting venues. But Rebecca Royal, now I am under one agency called Hacker Entertainment, who are Welsh. So I speak fluent Welsh. So I literally emailed them in Welsh, and they were like, that's the first time they've received an email in Welsh. So they were really happy with the content I've got. So we're working together now. So I have got different social media pages for Celine and also for Rebecca Royal. So I do keep those two separately. But I would like to go down the more kind of wedding side with Rebecca Royal. Yeah. You know, because I'm not going to lie to you, like, and I'm sure musicians listening might relate to this, but I feel like there's quite a lot of issues now with like small venues and pubs and stuff, with like cancellations and like people undercutting as well, like people doing free gigs, like even people doing free entertainment, and then that just takes your work away. Yeah. You know, so there is definitely an issue with that, and I don't know if you've encountered that yourself, but yeah, so I think the wedding route and stuff for Rebecca Royal, it works well with the aesthetic, the style. I think it would work well with that. So
yeah, absolutely. I was talking to someone the other day, I think he had a Madness tribute, and he was telling me that he gets paid so much more for tribute stuff than he does for any sort of his own stuff. Do you find that the same as well?
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think that's another thing as well, Jack, and which works well with this, being a full-time musician. If you get one gig and it's a few hundred, that's your salary for the week, right? Mm-hmm. If you're doing a tribute, you're getting paid a bit more, which then I have to think about that amount will support my family. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, I'm not 21 or 18 coming into the industry now. It's like like yourself, I'm doing this a long time, so I don't want to revert back to putting my fees down just to get booked. Yeah. I think musicians listening to this also, I think we need to be firm with our prices and not try to, I know we want the booking, it's a competitive industry, let's be honest, incredibly competitive, but I don't think we should push each other down just to get to the top either. We still need to support each other and make sure we're getting paid a decent amount for what we do, because not everyone can do what we do. That's the thing.
Yeah, well said.
So we shouldn't be charging little money.
No, yeah, exactly. Definitely well said. So you were going back a bit now. You were talking earlier about you wanted to get sort of signing up with the agencies as how you're going to get regular work. And is that getting sort of residencies and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd never say no to residency, but I do like the idea of branching out to trying different venues and stuff. So just to kind of always, I wouldn't mind a residency, but I quite like the idea of going to different venues, and I love meeting people as well. And that's all part of the job. I absolutely love meeting new people and having a chat with them. And so hopefully agencies, working with numerous agencies, that'll give me the opportunity. I mean, I would love to do cruise ship work as Celine. That's the ultimate goal. And I will get there. I'll get there, but this is brand new. It's taking time, but yeah, it will get there. It's just grafting, just staying consistent, getting my stuff out there for people to see. So yeah.
And what are you doing to put yourself out there at the moment?
I'm sending emails. I'm making sure I'm posting every single day. I'm making calls. I'm talking to people. Sending out my content to different people to check out and stuff. So when did this start actually? How far down the line is it? 6 months, a year, something like that? Or? Oh, do you mean the Celine? Yeah. So literally I've dipped into, like I said to you before. I haven't said to you before. Well, I did Gaga, but then it's taken me a few years. I've always wanted to do a tribute, and I tried Ariana Grande. I tried Amy Winehouse, and they were good, but they weren't what I wanted them to be. And then one guy on my contract last year, because I did a contract in Greece, my final one, he said to me, "What about Celine?" And I had a moment. And I was like, yeah, Celine. I love singing ballads. They're probably my strongest type of songs to sing. I look like her. And I was like, oh, hang on a minute, we're onto something. So I started learning. I was breastfeeding my baby. I was watching the TV and singing along while she's sleeping, you know, just getting in those grafting and basically just grafting. Yeah.
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 I mean, I think that segues nicely into the parenting topic now then.
Yeah.
So, how old is your boy or girl?
Girl. Valentina, her name is. So Valentina's literally
Beautiful.
1 next month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So she, God bless her heart, I gave birth and then I whipped her away to Greece for a contract.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It must have been crazy. I must not have been thinking, right. Luckily, it was absolutely fine. When I'd work in the evening in the shows, my husband would look after her and she was good as gold. So thankfully, it worked. But it was definitely challenging. I think I mentioned to you before about with the insecurities of like how I looked and stuff. When you've given birth, you do put on quite an excessive amount of weight. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. So I was back in the shows. I wasn't fitting in the costumes I'd fitted into previously. So that, you know, those little things, they take a toll on you. I don't want them to. I'm not promoting anything like this. I think you should be comfortable in, you know, whatever size you are. Especially as a woman, we get a lot of stick for how we look. But all those little things, Jack, it was difficult being a new mum and not feeling like yourself, and then having to go on stage and presenting yourself as this super confident individual when deep down you feel a little bit insecure. You know, I doing choreography, trying to do drops to the floor, and then you'd like, I've just pushed out a child. I shouldn't be doing that. That could cause a lot of damage. But a lot of people said to me, when you have a child, are you going to give up singing? And the answer is no. And I don't think anyone who's a parent should ever give up their career just for having a child. There's ways, if you want it to work, you can make it work, you know. I've also had comments like, oh, you're 32 now. You know, you've got all these new people coming out of uni. Like, you know, are you going to think of something else? No, I've been in the industry for 10 years. I've learned a lot throughout this 10 years. I'm not going to drop it because there's new students coming out of uni and I'm inferior. I'm not inferior. I've learned a lot along the way. I know a lot more than they do, unfortunately, right now. Not to sound, you know, cocky, but it's true.
So did you take any time off while you were pregnant, or? I
took off. No, actually, sorry. I fell pregnant when I was in Greece, in Corfu. I worked throughout my pregnancy singing on stage, which was quite stressful because the costume changes and stuff, having to bend to put shoes on. Yeah. And you've got a little bump come in. I was, we did a musical show and I was Sandy. And by the end of the contract, you can imagine, right? These tight black trousers and this little bump. And we just had this joke amongst the team, like, imagine if I just come out and go, hi Danny, it's yours. You know, just like little like jokes, like, can you imagine? But the audience members picked up on it after the show. They were like, we don't want to ask this, but are you pregnant? I joke sometimes and say, no, I'm not actually. And then they'd be like mortified. Yeah. But no, I did work throughout the pregnancy. I had a little gap in the winter because she was due March. Just teaching singing and stuff, Jack. You know, like low activity thing. Low activity, that makes no sense. Not physically demanding jobs. Yeah, I know what you mean. There we go. So I just did that, and then obviously gave birth and went straight back into it. Then straight back into the glamour, the glitz and glamour of performing. So how is that working now then, with like schedules? And how does that fit with your husband's schedules? How does he work in the industry as well, or? He's not in the industry. I wish he was. That'd be great. It'd make life a lot easier. He'd have more understanding. No, he's just in a normal job. I say normal, what we call muggle jobs as performers. But I'm working on the weekends, so he is off the weekends. So it's okay, actually. It's not too bad. That must be hard with not spending as much time with him as well, though. No, it is a little bit. But at the minute, it's quite great sometimes because I take him with me to the gigs, and my mum and dad are fantastic. They're helping to look after her, so they can look after her in the evening. He gets to come with me to the gig, has a drink, takes some videos for me, which is brilliant. So it's not too bad in that respect. I try to spend a bit of time with him. It's a bit hard in terms of like today, for example, this interview. I had to make sure she was napped before the interview. She's currently upstairs with my dad's here. So hopefully you can't hear them, but he's trying to entertain her. He's keeping her entertained up there, so it's fine.
Nice. I mean, not that I'm comparing my dog to your child at all, but I have a similar situation where I've got a time thing so that she's asleep, because otherwise we've got a beagle and she howls all the time because that's just what they do. So we've got to make sure she's asleep while we're doing things like this. I did hear a little one a minute ago, so I think my wife's sorting her out at the minute. But it's...
Oh my God, work. Give yourself credit. Dogs are equally as hard as babies. They are.
It was a shock how hard it is, I'll be honest.
We
weren't expecting it.
I love them though. I love dogs. I want to get one in the future. They're so cute.
So what are the plans for the future for you then at the minute then, work-wise and stuff? Obviously getting the Celine the Celine thing going full throttle, but anything else?
The plans are to literally keep persevering and get to the stage I want to get to. Like I said, it's hard to plan, really, isn't it? It's good to have a loose plan, but the loose plan essentially is I want bigger venues. I want my own band. I'm very ambitious with this tribute. I don't want to just be doing like, not to mock them, but like little venues and, trying to negotiate a fee, because I feel like that's kind of the way now. Like I set my fee and then they're like, we don't pay that in this pub. And it's like, I need this gig because one, it's, I need to get myself out there. So I want people to like, this is my gig. This is my fee. Sorry. You either take it or you don't. Someone else will, having that kind of optimism and faith in my show.
Yeah.
I'd love the full shebang, Jack. I'd love the band.
Yeah, band sounds like it would be amazing.
Vocals, the full shebang. The costumes. Don't get me wrong. I would love some nice big garments. Hopefully, we can rework some pieces. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to keep pushing. I've got faith in myself. I believe in this show, and I believe I can do it. So I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Well done. Awesome.
Thank you.
So. Yeah, maybe this will throw you under the bus a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't. Do you have any advice for anyone who is thinking about having a child or is about to have a child that you've learned over the last year?
That's a good question. Really good question. If you want to keep performing and you're having a child, you can keep performing. You can do it. If you want to do it, you will do it. I'm living proof that it's possible. And it's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. But if you've got the support system around you, that helps a lot. But if you don't, you're still a woman, you're still a strong, independent woman, you can do it. In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have there been anything unexpected that has happened over the last year that you, as obviously as in the question, unexpected, so you weren't expecting it?
Something unexpected? I think actually managing to get back on stage so early was unexpected. I planned it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think managing to get back on stage so early was unexpected. But, again, it all comes through the mind. If you want to do something, you won't let anything stop you. And having a baby, it does take over your life a lot. But it doesn't stop you from still doing what you want to do. So people get it twisted. They're like, oh yeah, you got a baby now. You can't sing anymore. You can't perform anymore. Really? Watch me.
Yeah.
Because I will.
Amen.
Yeah.
So is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to discuss?
Jack, I'm not going to lie to you. I could sit here all day and chat to you about stuff because I love talking, as you probably can see. I just want to revert back to what I said earlier about with regards to the industry and supporting one another. And
yeah,
it's a very competitive industry. And if you're not feeling 100% in yourself and you don't have confidence in yourself, you're going to find it really hard because we're always critiqued, whether that's from Barbara down the street say, you know, I've got a daughter who sings better than you. That happens sometimes, and you just got to be like, oh, that's great. Cool. You know, like you always get compared to other singers, especially where I live, Jack. It's quite small. And you're always getting compared to someone. And it's like, you have to say in a humble manner, you can't compare me to anyone because I'm me. I'm Rebecca Royal. There's no one like Rebecca Royal. That sounds big-headed, but I want everyone to listen into this to say that to themselves, whatever your name is. You're so unique. You can't compare salt to pepper. They both season your food, but you can't compare the two. And it's the same with singers and musicians as such.
Powerful.
You know, we're all unique.
So maybe back slightly, but you've mentioned like support and networks and stuff. And I feel like a lot of the people that I've spoken to so far on this podcast, it seems like there's quite a good community between singers and maybe like wedding singers and I don't know, guitarists or whatever. It seems like there is quite a lot of community around. Have you found anything like that, but in sort of respect to having a child?
So I have got a nice support network around me, and a lot of cheerleaders, a lot of people saying, you know, you can do this. They've definitely helped through the process. I've met a lot of performers throughout the years in different contracts, who I still message now, and they ask how Valentina is doing, and that's wonderful. You know, it's really, really wonderful. But I feel like in this town where I'm from, although it's all celebrated now with Ryan Reynolds, it is still a bit competitive with musicians and singers. I feel like I'm starting again from square one because no one really knows me here because I've been away working so many times. So it's like starting again from fresh-ish. So, but I have got lovely people supporting me, and I think they know my background. They know I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I couldn't afford to go to the best schools to train, you know, and I think they've seen the journey, you know, with the mental health and everything. They've seen the journey, and that's nice that I've got that.
And is that like friends and family really mainly? Nice.
Friends, family, yeah. Like I said, there are some musicians. There's one band local who have asked me to go and sing with them. They want to see how we gel. So that potentially is another form of income if my diary isn't full. And it's nice. It'll be nice to meet different musicians, and hopefully I can grab them and say, hey, do you want to work with me as Celine? Yeah. You know, if we work well. So there's always potential. There's always people out there, and they're watching you. That's the thing. They're watching you closely. When you don't know they're watching. I
think that's one thing that you're doing really well is sort of having different avenues of income and sort of doing your solo stuff, doing the Celine thing and this as well. And you say there was also some teaching in there as well.
Yeah. I dabble into teaching. I dabble into teaching. I want to enhance that though. I'd like to do a full on like this. I've been looking at a few courses where it's like proper delves right into it. I only do the basics. You know, I only do the basics. I don't go straight into the like proper technique, which I'd like to. But yeah, no, it's great. But I just want to take this opportunity really quickly to thank you for like giving me this platform to like talk about everything and hopefully get the message out to women who want to sing and are having a baby or want to dance or whatever in the industry. Yeah. And for people going through mental health issues as well. You know, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Again, thanks for sharing that. I feel like that's, it's going to resonate with a lot of people, all of it. But yeah, no, you're super welcome. It's been great to have you on. I feel like that feels like a natural point to sort of wrap up then. But
maybe, yeah.
Maybe. But before we do, if anyone wanted to connect with you or find out more about you, where would you send them?
Oh, this is the time we plug. Let's get plugging. Okay, so Facebook, Rebecca Royal Music. Facebook also, Je suis Celine, a tribute by Rebecca Royal, very long title. But Je suis Celine, it should come up. So I've got that on Facebook, Instagram, Rebecca Royal Music, again. And Je suis Celine, also on Instagram. And YouTube, Rebecca Royal. And then my Celine, it is under one umbrella on YouTube. So my Celine stuff will come up as well as the Rebecca Royal content. So, and email, Je suis Celine Tribute at yahoo.com. And I have yet to create a Rebecca Royal email. I haven't done that just yet. So I'm not going to plug that. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook is your best bet, I think.
Perfect.
If you'd like to connect.
Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you so much, honestly. It's been really nice, Jack. Thank you.
No, pleasure. Hopefully speak to you soon.
Yes,
Cheers.
absolutely. Thank you.
So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed our conversation. I'd like to thank Rebecca again for being so open and sharing her story. I'm sure you can tell just from listening to her that she is such a lovely person with a super warm personality. Make sure you go and give her a follow, see what she gets up to. I just want to say thank you to those who have shared the podcast again this week. It's starting to really grow now, and I really appreciate that. As always, I would love to hear from you about what you're liking and what you'd want to hear from future episodes. So if you would like to get in touch and have a say about where this podcast goes, then you can email me at feedback@thefulltimefunctionmusicianpodcast.co.uk, or you can message me on Instagram at infocusrecordingco. And lastly, if you want to join our Facebook community, you can search the Full-Time Function Musician Community on Facebook. Also, a few people that have got in touch to be on the podcast. A lot of you have sent messages directly to me on Facebook, which go into message request folder, so I don't often read them. I'll try and get back to those soon, but if you want to get in touch about being on the podcast, please send an email to me at feedback@thefulltimefunctionmusicianpodcast.co.uk, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Anyways, that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week for episode 10.